Mic'd up.
Highlights from Lowlifes.
I'm not going to open a beer over the top of the theme song.
Good, because that interrupts the music.
Yeah, we wouldn't want that.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for joining us. This is the first show that we've ever done where there's only two of us.
Sometimes when Terry's on, it seems like there's only two of us.
We just got back from our wonderful 2025 Lowlifes baseball road trip. Just an absolute blast. And many of our compatriots are down in San Diego for an annual baseball tournament and are unavailable for the show. But Robby and I, we thought we'd wing it and cover some topics of the day, including a bit about our trip, a bit about the San Francisco Giants trade for Rafael Devers. And then Robby found a listing today of what is considered to be the all-time athletics team. Is that, Rob? Is that, do I have that right?
The Athletic online sports report did their all quarter century team. So it's the MLB first 25 years of this century.
Got it. Okay, I misunderstood. I thought it was about the A's team.
Yeah.
All right, good. That'll be a good thing to talk about. So again, JC and Teddy Bear and Tiger and Chuck Hammy I think they're all down in San Diego playing for the Giants teams against the Dodgers. Marty is actually up in Reno with family and didn't want to be bothered with starring in our show tonight, and that's okay. Perhaps he's watching. I don't know. Hopefully he has something back. So let's get into it a little bit. So this year we went on the 2025 Lowlifes baseball road trip. These originated back in 2020 or 2021 after the pandemic. Each year we go and experience some new cities, baseball parks, restaurants, bars, and make new friends. And this year was, without exception, a great trip. A bit exhausting. Believe it or not, when I came home, I did not want beer for a few days. I think we had enough. This year's trip was a flight into Louisville, Kentucky, followed by a road trip up to Cincinnati, then north to Columbus, even further north to Cleveland, and then east to Pittsburgh, which is where we ended up and came home. So we got to see games in 5 different cities, 3 major league, 2 minor league, and we found the extracurriculars were awesome, and the little dive bars, which is our specialty, finding the dive bar in town that gives us a flavor of the neighborhood and lets us commits with the locals and just have a great time. So I think what I'll do is I'll give you an overview of each day, and Robby can throw in a few comments. We flew into Louisville, Kentucky, with the express purpose of going to the Louisville Slugger baseball bat manufacturing plant. And they have daily tours, which we took. And then Robby, through his connections, got us some invites to some whiskey tastings.
Correct.
Which are right there, right close to the Bat Museum.
And let's give a shout out to Bardstown Bourbon for hosting us for a VIP tasting, and
yes.
Michter's Distilling for doing a VIP tour, and
Hmm.
bar experience.
Yes, yes. And we finished up the night with a baseball game. We went and saw the Louisville Bats, which is the Cincinnati Reds AAA affiliate, play the Norfolk Tides, which is the Baltimore Orioles AAA affiliate. Beautiful little ballpark, um, sparse crowd, which was perfect for us. We were able to do our typical tour of the ballpark and watch bits and pieces of the game while taking in everything that was going on.
And I would say between those two teams, there was like 10 major leaguers and not just guys that had been up and down. These were guys on both teams have a ton of injuries right now. And there were a ton of guys that were on rehab assignments and big names like Jordan Westberg and Heimer Candelario and Christian Encarnacio Strand and Gary Sanchez. We really got to see basically a major league game at the Louisville AAA Stadium.
Yep. And we became good friends with Christian Encarnacion Strand because he ended his rehab that night, and the next day he was playing for the Cincinnati Reds, which we were going to see.
Yep.
So, overall impressions of Louisville and Kentucky, Rob?
Oh, it was great. I did not know about the whole natural limestone water filtration in that area, and many of the distilleries just use the tap water, and it's amongst the best rated tap water in the country. And actually, it did taste pretty good. Not gonna lie, that was some good stuff. But overall, Louisville looks like it's a city on the up and up. It looks like it's really developing into a tourist destination, and I'm glad we got there before it became too trendy.
Hmm. Yep. And our favorite bar in town was called.
Well, you guys like the Troll.
I loved the Troll.
So the bridge that crosses out of Louisville across into northern Kentucky over the Ohio River. There's a little bar underneath the bridge called the Troll, which was a perfectly fitting name. And yeah, the Troll was a good bar. I did like Pat O'Shea's, the Irish bar we went to, a lot.
Yes, yes. Hmm.
So, um,
Agree.
and
All
we
right.
did. Don't forget, I can't remember the name of the bar, but it was in that Fourth Street Live area of Louisville that the four of us got in earlier than the other four, and we found a sports bar. And the bartender was fine, but the bar back knew everything about baseball and softball. We talked College World Series baseball, College World Series softball, Major League Baseball, minor league baseball, and she knew everything. I believe her name was April, but she was throwing out stats and numbers, and it was just, it's like this is the perfect way to kick off a baseball trip, to sit in a sports bar with some bar back that is um, just completely dialed in on what we're doing and was able to talk with us about all of that stuff. So that was great. That was a great way to kick it off.
Agree. All right. We had our fun in Louisville, and then we rented a couple of cars, and we started with 8. We added a ninth friend of ours, took a couple of cars from Louisville up to Cincinnati, and we were going to spend a couple of days watching the Reds at Great American Ballpark. On the first day, we got the opportunity through a connection at micdup to get a personalized tour of the Cincinnati Reds Hall of Fame by the man in charge, Rick Walls. Rick, thank you again. It was a lot of
Absolutely.
fun for us to get that tour of the hall, which is quite large. Actually, took us some time to walk through. Um, it's got interactive displays, a lot of history about the Reds, including the Big Red Machine.
Right.
Um, Rick knows his Cincinnati Reds inside and out and was able to give us some great history on how the hall was created and all of the things that happen because of the hall. For example, that they run the Cincinnati Reds fantasy camp and they're continuously involved in um, uh, garnering new items for the hall. So if you've already been, go again. I'm sure some of the displays have changed. Um, and And that evening we saw the Reds versus the Diamondbacks, but not before spending some time on the street outside the ballpark with everybody else while wearing our highlights from Lowlifes baseball jerseys. We made tons of friends, everybody coming up to us, wanting pictures taken with us. It was a lot of fun.
I
Rob, what'd you think?
yeah, it was great. The people in Cincinnati were very engaging. Really, really thrilled with how that went. And they may be some of them may be listening tonight, like Tom, Candace, Maddie. Probably not Sophia though, the daughter.
Oh, Sophia loved us,
Yeah,
didn't she?
well,
Yeah.
she did laugh when I pointed out that finally she found 8 guys dorkier than her dad. But really nice people. I mean, and the whole of Cincinnati was like that. We even had a bartender come running out of a bar going, "I gotta know what this is all about," and ended up talking with us for a little bit and then, invited us back for some, VIP treatment after the game, and, I'm sure we'll get to that.
Yeah, yeah. That game, by the way, got suspended in the sixth or seventh inning because of rain. Um, so we just poured out of the stadium and into one of the local bars, as Rob said. And since we were still in town and going to watch the game the next day, we got to watch the finish of the game before the regularly scheduled game between the Reds and Diamondbacks. So great, great night there in Cincinnati. Um, Next day, came over to the ballpark in a different set of jerseys. Rick Wallace found us again, said hi, and into the game we went.
Oh, and Robbie Fisher, director of, visitor relations, became a good friend on that trip,
Yes, yes, yes.
so shout out to
Um,
him.
great time at the stadium, um, and we were able to get through Cincinnati unscathed.
We
we
a little scathed.
Yeah, a little scathed. Then we got up the next morning to begin our journey. We were going to go up to Cleveland, but a discussion took place saying, we've got a 3.5 hour drive, could be 4 with traffic. Perhaps we should plan a lunch somewhere along the way, maybe a halfway point. And somebody, I think it was you, Rob, said, the Columbus Clippers, the Cleveland Guardians AAA team, they are playing today, and they were at 1 o'clock start. Columbus Clippers and Toledo Mud Hens. So we walked up and bought tickets. There was 9 of us, $5 a piece. We never sat in our seats. I have no
Nope,
idea where our seats were, but
nope.
we walked around the ballpark, saw a great game, but we were pointed to a building beyond the left field wall where the second floor was a full bar that would seat 100, and the walls contained the history of the Columbus Clippers. um, they are a Guardians farm team today. They used to belong to the Yankees. Don Mattingly went through there. Before that, they were both an affiliate of both the Pirates and Cardinals. So deep, deep background in baseball in Columbus, and we got to see a game there. Robbie, what'd you think of that place?
I really liked that ballpark. It was really well laid out. It's brand new feeling, and it's in a new area of the city, and, they've done a nice job really making that kind of an anchor to that part of the city of Columbus, and, it was great. It was great to walk around. The people were super nice. We Marty, who's not with us tonight, is an usher for the Reno Aces, and so this whole trip, the theme was Marty would talk to the ushers, he'd talk shop. And, uh, but the usher in this case really helped us out, pointing out the tower out there, and that's where we ended up going and spending the majority of the game. And, on a baseball note, I know Chase DeLauder is a top prospect for Cleveland, and he's had some injury stuff, but, um, we caught him on a good day, 3 for 4. I think he was a single shy of the cycle that day. So we got to see an up and coming player who I think is gonna make an impact in the major leagues here in the next year or 2,
Yeah,
as well as just hanging out and, Are you going to mention the story about the picture?
The picture. Oh,
The picture, because
yes.
I was super impressed, by the way, of that second floor in the tower in left field, the history of baseball in Columbus, and it covered Negro leagues, it covered their minor league history, which was quite extensive, and they even had a few years where they had a major league team in the 1800s, and whoever had put this together did a fantastic job and made me actually want to learn a lot more about that whole situation.
Yeah. There was a large picture on the wall, blown up, black and white photo of a pitcher for Columbus, or I'm sorry, a batter for Columbus from the 1940s or 50s, we believe. This would be back when they were a Cardinals affiliate, and we could not find anybody that could tell us who the player was. But we did get directed to somebody who has not replied to my email just yet, who supposedly will be able to tell us who that is. So great time. Would highly recommend that you stop there if you're going through Columbus.
Yeah.
So we pile back into the cars and we are off to Cleveland. We've got another hour and a half into Cleveland. And we arrive and drive past the ballpark that night. Our hotel is a few blocks away from the ballpark. Not not the greatest part of town, but we did find a local diner for dinner.
Diner? That is a dive bar. What are you talking about?
I thought it was a diner. It had place for food.
Yeah. As we found at every stop. What's your specialty here? Wings,
Yeah.
what
What was it called? Becky's? I think it was
Becky's.
called Becky's.
Just
Yeah.
Becky's.
Yep. So we spent the night there in Cleveland and got up the next day and off to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. We went and we met up with a 10th member of the entourage. Um, we had a great time at the Hall of Fame. If you're a music fan, this is a must. You've got to see what they've got set up for the history of rock and roll. They have clothing that was worn during specific concerts. They have instruments. They have a lot of interactive stuff. In fact, my friend Robby here was able to sing with a couple of musicians who backed him up, sing a version of "Surrender" by Cheap Trick
Yep.
that went really well. For those of you that are following us on social media, I believe a clip has been posted of most of the performance. Very good. Terry does a little bit of backup singing on that. Just a great time. Then we got out of there and found by recommendation. I think it was Tom Shields gave us the recommendation for the
Tom and Candace. Yep. If you're
yeah.
watching, call
What
in.
was hey yeah, call in. Um,
Great Lakes
what was the
Brewing.
name of the place we went?
Great
Uh,
Lakes Brewing.
Great Lakes Brewing in Cleveland. Great place to go for lunch. Uh, Kind of a fun place. They had it's an older building and there's a little speakeasy downstairs. Um, and you can have private parties there. Really nice setup and friendly people.
Yeah.
Great time. Um, Off to the Guardians game we went that night, and they were playing the Reds. So we saw Christian Encarnacion Strand in Louisville, twice in Cincinnati, and then in Cleveland. So
And I think he homered in every one of those damn games.
he did. Really fun night at the stadium in Cleveland. After a long day, we hit it, and the next morning we were off to Pittsburgh, which is about 130 miles away. Rob, what were your impressions of the stadium in Cleveland?
Cleveland was again. We didn't hit a clunker of a stadium out of the whole bunch. We really didn't. They were all special and unique and different looks and feels. And Cleveland was much more maybe a party than anything else, I would say. It was a very socially active, busy stadium. Cincinnati, it was they were very engaged in the game. But at Cleveland, I got much more of a party feel. Let's get up and move. Let's get up, and that's what we do, and we weren't the only ones doing that. So,
Yeah, yeah.
and I
Um,
like the view of the skyline there. The skyline's kind of a little bit older, so looking back into the city was kind of nice. New stadium, old city. It was great.
yeah. We spent a lot of our time in Cleveland. We were up on like a second level, um, and uh, what we bought were um, more like standing room only tickets, right?
Right.
So we were kind of up in this upper level and could move around. Would highly recommend that. Looking when you're looking into standing room only tickets, look to see where you can roam in the stadium. Most cases they don't care; you can go wherever you want. So
Yep.
um, great time. So off to Pittsburgh we go, and Robbie has set us up with a personalized tour at the Roberto Clemente Museum in Pittsburgh. I know nothing about the museum except that it honors Roberto Clemente, the famous Pittsburgh Pirate player from the 50s and 60s, who died in a plane crash in 1972. We pull up to this modest looking building on the river in Pittsburgh. Um, Apparently, it's a converted fire station, and
Engine
behind
House 25, which will come up again later.
yes, Engine House 25. Um, we have to be buzzed through the front door. Um, and once we get inside, we're waiting for the rest of the gang to show up, and we meet the owner there. His name is Dwayne Reeder. Do I have that
Hmm.
right?
Correct.
Dwayne was very gracious with us and gave us a personalized tour and told us the history of the Roberto Clemente Museum, how he met the Clemente family, um, how he decided to change what was supposed to be his art studio into a museum dedicated to Clemente and the pirates. All of the people that he's met by doing this, um, all of the donations he's received from people that with pictures and film and artwork devoted to Clemente and the pirates.
Right.
It's on those walls and it's taken care of. He knows how to do that, being the artist he is. I loved it. You know, you're going up and down staircases, and the railings are baseball bats, which is
Right.
Dwayne's love. You know,
Yeah, and not just like I went to Big Five and bought 40 baseball bats. These were like game used. Several of them were autographed. Yeah, it was breathtaking.
so Robbie, can you tell everybody Dwayne's connections, how he's connected in Major League Baseball, and um, what that has meant for him, and what his other business is?
Yeah, well, he obviously starting the Clemente Museum. He grew up in Pittsburgh and I mean, he's of a certain age and was a fan of, just like we all were, I mean, of Clemente. He had the idea to put together the museum after I don't want to go into great detail about how he got the firehouse, but he got one of 25 firehouses. One of them was not knocked down. These were decommissioned firehouses because the original doors were built for carriages and wouldn't handle modern trucks in 1970. So a bunch of 24 of the firehouses were knocked down. This one was condemned and was to be knocked down. And he got that before it actually happened. So he has the last standing original firehouse in Pittsburgh. um, the museum came about. The story, you have to visit the museum. I can't give his story justice, and I'm hoping we can get him on the show actually to talk about this because it is spectacular. And how it came about is just so much serendipity. I mean, Clemente himself had to be involved in making this museum happen with based on the stories that he told. So Anyway, he's gotten involved, and because it's Clemente, all the Puerto Rican players would start coming to the museum because they wanted to pay tribute. If you grew up in Puerto Rico, I mean, Roberto Clemente is I mean, maybe not God, but God's right hand man. And these guys come to the museum and see the artifacts. He has a special bat in a case that he lets the Puerto Rican players hold, and only the Puerto Rican players get to hold it, and things like that. And so word gets around amongst the other players on the teams, and they all want to come out to the museum too. And then the second part is down in the basement, the old pump house of the fire station. Dwayne has also has a second career as a winemaker, and so Engine House 25 Wines is located there in the basement of the Clemente Museum. He sources fruit and juice from around the world, Napa Valley, some from France, a little bit from Italy, different places around the world. He has that capability because of where he's located. And with that, he has developed barrels of wines that these different major league players over the years have started to buy from him. And Albert Pujols is a great example. Pujols buys a couple of barrels from him every year. And the cool thing is they've got the player name and number like a jersey on the barrel that are being stored down in that room. And guys like Albert Pujols buy that, even though he's not really a drinker. He buys those. He can sign a bottle and donate it to a charity event every year for charity auctions and things like that. So a lot of players are using that, and of course, baseball players being the competitive nature that they have, they find out that, oh, Nick Castellanos has a barrel. I got to get a barrel. So they start trying to outdo each other, and he's used those connections to build up this amazing Hall of Fame worthy memorabilia collection between signed jerseys and bats and helmets and game used balls and balls from significant moments in baseball history and stuff. He's really just been able to piece together this absolutely breathtaking collection that you can sip on your Sangiovese and hold a ball that was, I think, Barry Bonds' 700th home or 704th home run ball. It was. You can hold the ball and drink a little bit of Sangiovese. So, um, that was something special we got to be included on that trip. And boy, I knew that he was going to help us out on this trip. He's a very good friend of one of my very good friends. So we got a special hookup for this whole thing. But I didn't know the extent of which it was going to go our way. So yeah,
Yeah, it was awesome.
yep.
And I will say, and I think a couple of us were thinking this as we walked out of there. Wow, that was a lot more than I expected. Um, and I'm exhausted, and I still have to go to a baseball game tonight. So we did make our way over to our final game on the trip, um, at the beautiful stadium in Pittsburgh, just gorgeous. Um, uh, I'll say this out loud. I can't believe such a great facility is wasted on such a bad team.
Yeah, that's an excellent statement.
I was very impressed with food service. The causeways are built beautifully. The fans are really engaged in the team, even though the team is not putting a great product out on the field. Um, just loved it. But I was tired. I was ready to um, either have a day of rest or go home. And of course, the next morning, we all got ourselves out to the airport in Pittsburgh and went our separate ways as we made our way back to California, or in Marty's case, Nevada. But uh,
Yep.
a great trip. Um, and for those of you that are thinking about doing one of these baseball trips, there are tour companies that you can hire. And maybe that's your thing. But we we've decided that the type of trip that we want is not conducive to a tour company. Um, we'd have a lot more fun on our trips, finding the little dive bars in each town, mixing in with the locals, and not being on such a stringent schedule. Um, we got to be on the bus at this time or that time.
Yeah.
Worked out really well for us. And I will also say that the 8 to 10 of us, depending upon what day it was, we travel well together. Um, we we don't get on each other's nerves as much as some other folks might. We do well, and it worked out well in this one. Is if somebody was upset with somebody else, you could just switch cars for the car ride.
Yeah. Hey, before we go any further, I want to take a moment to talk about our sponsor, Almanac Brewing, Alameda, California. Um, they are available in Pittsburgh and a couple of places in Ohio. Unfortunately, we couldn't get to those places. So we drank alternative beers, which we could talk about on another show. Garage beer, Cincy Light, uh, Little Kings, Yingling, of course, the Almanac of the East Coast.
Mhm.
Actually, Almanac's a little bit better, but um, Almanac Brewing has sponsored us from day one, and we really appreciate their support. I'm drinking the Buenos Vibras still, the Mexican style lager. We probably got about another month and a half of this, and then they're going to switch to their Rocktoberfest, which is a fabulous beer. But this is a super hot day summer beer quencher thirst thing. So
Yeah.
jump on it now while you can. We don't have very much time left with this beer. What do you got? You got Plum Sour Nova?
No, no,
Oh,
not today. Not today.
damn.
I'm not in the plum sour nova mood today. I will be drinking the Seaside West Coast IPA, which is I would say this is in my top three IPAs at Almanac. And you're going top three. Well, they have lots of IPAs at
Yeah, they have
Almanac.
lots of them.
My favorite is the Love Hazy, and always has been. It was the first Almanac beer I ever had. Second, I've grown fond of the Bunny Hill,
Yeah.
but the Seaside is my third favorite. It gets the bronze medal for me, and like I said, like Robbie said, it's a little hot today. We got up in the high 80s, so this is a refreshing one for me. Even though it's an IPA, it goes down smooth. So,
And we got lots of well,
mhm.
maybe not lots, but a bunch. Okay, a couple.
What you drinking? I'm here in San Marcos having a Almanac American Lager,
Hmm.
a true American Lager. Their new brand, it's just delicious. Cheers, boys.
All
Cheers,
right.
JC. Teddy Bear? Oop.
What you drinking? Thanks to J.C. Penney, I'm having a Almanac True Coast, one
Oh,
of the last few on the shelves. Awfully glad that you got one of those for me. Have a good show, fellas. Cheers.
I am a bit worried that they are drinking and driving.
I mean, frankly, yes. I'm sure they've got sippy cups.
Well, good
Uh,
luck, boys, at the San Diego tournament. I'm sure you'll have fun whether you win or lose. So it's be a good
and
time.
so getting back to Pittsburgh for a moment, um, one thing I really liked, $9 24-ounce Yinglings, and I think that was the night we actually sat and watched the baseball game. Every other time we were enjoying ballparks and, there was a game going on and we engaged a little bit, but yeah, and my highlight, I don't know about yours, my highlight of all the ballparks, it was Jordan Westberg playing for Norfolk Tides on his injury rehab for the Orioles, all-star second baseman, hit a home run out of the Louisville Slugger Field Stadium. It was maybe one of the longest shots I've ever seen in person in my life. That ball
Yeah.
was absolutely crushed. So as far as pure baseball highlights, that was huge.
Yes. Um, to your point, folks, if you're not checking out the minor league ballparks, you're really missing out.
Hmm.
Um, you get to see some good quality baseball. Um, the crowds aren't as large. You are seeing a lot of um, current and former major leaguers playing. Um, so the action is good. Um, so I would highly recommend both stadiums. Louisville and Columbus were great fan viewing experiences. Um, the tickets are cheap. The
Yep.
food and drink not so much, but that's the same anywhere. Um, and Robbie mentioned Yangling. That's basically our vacation beer.
Yeah.
That's the beer. It's the oldest beer in the United States.
Yep.
Very goes down very good. Um, any bar we went to, we were getting pitchers of Yangling, and that's what the locals are drinking.
And it's funny because those of you that live in a state that have Yingling, you kind of pass it off because it's not that big. And I think it's still only 21, maybe 22 states that they're in. And you guys pass it off. When you come out here to the West Coast or a state that doesn't have Yingling, it's Bud Miller Coors in that same price category. And Yingling is worth at least twice that price, even though it's in that category with them. So for us, it is super special to get that beer when we're in those states. So it's definitely something. And speaking of that, we have a call about that from JC.
Hey, Robbie, a question. Did you get a personal Yingling count on the trip? If you did, give it up. Cheers.
I would say that if we're going by 12-ounce pours, it would be in the 40s.
Wow, wow. So you're basically saying you're an alcoholic.
No, on vacation.
Oh, those weren't in one day. Oh, I'm
Not in
sorry.
one day. Not in one day.
Okay.
Not in one day. We did have a 32 beer tab in Cincinnati at the stretch.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Hey, let's switch topics. Let's
Yeah.
talk about something near and dear to us Bay Area baseball fans. The Giants just made a kind of out of nowhere trade, a franchise changing trade.
Hmm.
Now I'm sure that people will agree or disagree with the impact of this deal. But it's hard to say that the Giants have made a deal like this in the last 10 years. And they've signed a few free agents, but this is a trade where they are making a statement about the future direction of the team.
Yep.
And here we are under the management of a former player, Buster Posey, who's been given, carte blanche to run this team the way he sees fit. And many of us were hoping that a trade like this would happen. The Giants acquired Rafael Devers from the Boston Red Sox for Kyle Harrison, a great young pitcher, Jordan Hicks, who has been the starter for the Giants the last couple of years.
A solid major league pitcher.
Yeah. And two minor leaguers of good pedigree,
Yep.
James Tibbs, an outfielder, and Jose Bello, a pitcher. The reason, Robbie, that I'm excited about this trade is even though the Giants have been a good team for much of the last decade, I really feel, and Giants fans don't attack me, they have been boring.
Yes.
They don't
Absolutely.
really have a solid method of generating run production. They always have good pitching, good solid pitching. And they have the ability to score a few runs each game. But you don't see them putting up the 10s and 12s on a regular basis.
Right.
In fact, they recently went through a stretch of a dozen games where they didn't score more than 4 runs in any game. They have capable major league hitters who are being asked to do a little bit more than they should be.
Yep.
And now they've been given a star player, a run producing player, a bat in the middle of the lineup that is dangerous at all times in Devers. And in my opinion, that takes a lot of the pressure off of the guys like Willie Adames and Matt Chapman to produce.
Yep.
They can relax a bit more at the plate. It makes the Giants relevant. I don't know if they're going to win the division. I don't know if they're going to make the playoffs, but they're going to be more interesting to watch in my
It's gonna be a lot more fun to watch for sure.
Yeah.
And Dan O'Shaughnessy, if you've ever seen any documentary about Boston sports, he is the preeminent sports writer from that region. And I actually really liked his assessment of this. This is Craig Breslow, a former player, and Buster Posey, a former player. Like, we're not screwing around. Devers to Boston. Breslow knows he was done. He didn't get along with the manager. He wasn't happy with management. Breslow knew he had to move him. Buster Posey knows he needs an impact player. These are two players that immediately decided this is something we can do. Boston needs pitching. They got 3 pitchers out of the deal. All 3 of them are major league quality pitchers, including the rookie. So it was 2 players not pussyfooting around and trying to out negotiate each other and all of that. Like, here's a deal that we can do. You take this, we'll take that, and it all came together well. And I think in the long run, it's going to be great for Boston, and in the long run, it's going to be great for the Giants. Both teams addressed needs. Both teams eliminated problems. I mean, the Giants have 9 or 10 starting quality pitchers sitting at AAA. So, I mean, they eliminated one guy that they didn't need. No, I think it's all around. This is long term for Boston. It's going to be a great deal for them, and I think for the Giants, we saw it last night. I mean, 2 clutch hits already. I mean, in one night. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm happy with the deal, and this is the most impactful deal they've done since the Carlos Beltran trade.
Yeah. That's a good parallel. But if I remember right, the Beltran trade was made very late in the season.
Yeah, at the
And
deadline. This is a deadline deal done by 2 baseball players that knew they needed to do something, and there's no reason to wait.
yes. So happening in the middle of June is basically 6 weeks ahead of the target.
Yeah, yeah,
So why not? You
yeah.
know? So yeah, I'm very happy for the Giants. Um, I think they just become more interesting.
Yeah.
And now I can listen to a Giants fan argue that the lineup is dangerous. Before it's like, you know,
And
uh,
I don't want to take credit for that, but when we were at the Clemente Museum and he was talking about the Clemente bat, last year and the last 2 years, I guess, Willie Adames, when he's gone to the museum, the Clemente Museum, he's held the bat each time, and then he's gone off on his hot streak. We were at the museum and looked at the bat, and Willie Adames started this current hot streak. So they're coming to Pittsburgh pretty soon. So but I think like we've already given Willie Adames that extra he needs to get going. So I don't want to take credit for his hitting, but I'm going to take credit for his hitting.
mhm.
So yeah, the
Uh,
Giants are. It's a great pickup. It makes them. You said it. If Devers is sitting there in the 3 or 4 hole, whoever's batting ahead of him is going to see fastballs, and Ramos and Adames are going to be the guys ahead of him, and they thrive on
yeah,
fastballs. So
yeah. A couple of folks mentioned, including yourself, where is he going to play? Um, he said he doesn't want to play anywhere but third base, and the Giants have a Gold Glove third baseman in Matt Chapman.
platinum glove.
All of this gets brushed to the side. He's saying all the right things now. Hey, I'll go to first base if you need me to go there. Um, I'll DH if that's what you want me to do. An interesting note I saw the other day is originally the Red Sox wanted the Giants' top prospect, Bryce Eldridge, in the
Right.
trade, and the Giants said no. Eldridge will be the first baseman of the future with the Giants.
Yeah.
So where does Devers end up playing in the field? I don't know. That's a good problem to have. We'll
Yeah.
sort that out later.
Yep. Yeah, and I mean, it's clear he probably would have played first base in Boston, but I think there's some other stuff that happened that we're just not aware of that really soured him on the organization.
Yeah.
So now, I mean, he's like you said, he's saying and doing all the right things here, and he's probably open to playing first base. And I mean, he's got to know. He's looking at Matt Chapman. He's seen Matt Chapman play. He's got to know what quality that guy is at third base. And like, if he wants to play on the field, he can. If he wants to say, "Hey, I just want a DH," they're not going to say no to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, It's a quality pickup, and I do believe it's a really good trade for the Boston Red Sox too. I think in the long term, it's going to really
I
pay
do.
off for them.
Yeah, I think everybody wants to win a trade. You know, uh, it's a good trade for both teams,
Yeah.
and that's. I think you will see Kyle Harrison. Let's just hope Kyle Harrison doesn't become the next Zach Wheeler,
Yeah.
who was in the Carlos Beltran trade.
But you know, it took Zach Wheeler 5 years to become Zach Wheeler, so
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
forget that. I mean,
Mhm.
and he's hurt a lot. So
Yep.
anyway,
All right. Well,
let
if you
let's
have any
yeah,
questions or comments on that, hit that microphone at the bottom of the screen and chime in. Let us know what you think. All right, Robbie, what were you gonna say?
I was going to say let's jump into this all quarter century team.
All right, so give us a little background about who's put this on and who was voting and all that kind of stuff.
So the online subscription service, The Athletic, I think part of the New York Times, got all their baseball writers together and asked them to vote and pick the all quarter century team. So this is the guys since 2000 through 2025 who is the greatest player at each position, and they picked all 9 field positions, including a 5-man rotation, a closer, a DH, and then the infield positions and outfield positions, of course.
Okay.
So
Full disclosure, I haven't seen any of this, so this will be brand new to me.
all right, I've read through 4 or 5 articles of guys picking and why they picked and voted for their different guys. So here we are. We'll start with the easy one. First base, Albert Pujols, or as my daughter Shelby used to say, Pujols, and she did the every time.
So it's hard to argue with that pick.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, maybe Cabrera.
Maybe Miguel Cabrera. It's interesting. Both players started out as third baseman.
Right.
Um, maybe Cabrera. Um, but Albert, I think, would get it, having more of an impact for a longer period of time.
Yeah, and 700 home runs and 3,300 hits. I mean,
Yeah. I think Cabrera is the runner-up, clear runner-up
Yeah.
for the last 25 years.
I mean, I don't think you can make a case for anybody else. Everybody loves Joey Votto. He's funny and great hitter, but he's just not in that class. Or Freeman, looks terrible in that Dodger uniform. Why would you vote for that? So, and
Well, those
I
are
always,
good picks. I mean, we got a buddy of ours that's a big Reds fan in our fantasy baseball league, and he could never vote for anybody but Votto. And his argument, Robbie, would be Votto could field his position, and the other guys were put at first because there was no place else to put them.
Pujols wouldn't hurt you at first base, and at first base, that's all you need.
Yeah.
I mean, it's great if you get something better than that. That's just gravy. But yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So this is an interesting one. Second base, they picked Jose Altuve. And I know a lot of people have a bad taste in their mouth about the scandal, the trash can scandal. But I mean, where do you get Utley? Maybe is the other guy. But
So I think Altuve is your man. As you can hate him, but
I know. Well, you can hate Utley too. I mean, there's just
yeah,
so many
a lot of
reasons.
people hated Utley, but Altuve, given the benefit of the doubt, if anybody could come forward with proof about the cheating, then okay, maybe we reconsider. But here's a guy who worked hard, a small man that was able to work hard and make himself into a complete all-around player. I mean, look at him. He's a power hitter at that size.
Yeah.
And since the quote unquote scandal, he's still playing at the top of his game.
Oh yeah. I mean, 4 batting titles. I mean,
Yeah.
The trash can was 1 year.
Yeah. I can't off the top of my head think of anybody that comes close to what he's done.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like that pick.
Yep.
Mhm.
All right. Shortstop. This could get contentious, but Derek Jeter. is the shortstop. So, in my opinion, I mean, there's Tulowitzki, maybe you could throw out there, maybe A-Rod, but I mean, if I'm putting together a team, I want a guy that's in charge on the field, and Derek Jeter was that. One thing Derek Jeter was a superstar that played like he was a guy trying to hang on to his job every single minute. He was a guy. He crashed into the stands chasing foul balls. He did. He played like a guy that was a 220 hitter that just was trying to cling on to the major leagues, and I like that. I hate
Yeah.
saying that. I don't want to give Yankees credit for anything, but I mean, the guy, he's somebody you want as a leader on your team.
Yeah. I mean, my parents used to live out in Hawaii, and they became Yankee fans because of Derek Jeter. They said this is the type of guy. He comes to the ballpark every day. He's the anti Alex Rodriguez. He's
Right.
there to do his job. He doesn't try to push accolades his own way. He never seemed to be quote unquote cheating on the field. And he holds a lot of major league records that you wouldn't even consider him to have.
Right.
On base percentage records, power hitting, fielding percentage, range, types of things that you'd go, oh, geez, I didn't think of him. And to do it for so long and never really dropping off.
Right. Right.
Even his last year, he was still a dangerous ball player.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And the only other Yankee I ever liked was Bernie Williams. So there you go.
there you go. It's
For
good.
the same damn reasons. All right. Third base. This might be a bit of a controversy, but I agree with this because I've talked about this guy numerous times on our show. Adrian Beltre is the quarter century third baseman. I think there's a lot of people out there that would argue Chipper Jones would be the guy. Thoughts?
Beltre did it across many teams.
Sure.
He
Chipper
he
was a
got
one-team guy.
yeah he got moved many times. I never heard of him as being a cancer in the clubhouse.
No,
In fact, it was the opposite. Here's a guy that's going to keep the team loose
yeah,
and keep the game fun.
yep,
But an intense ball player, and his play didn't fall off with any of his the teams that he was on. He was always the leader on the field. What does he think? What's Adrian's stance on what's going on in the field? He's the guy that would lead the team in a comeback. Yeah, I can't really argue with that pick. I think Jones was a great ball player, but I think Beltre's the right pick.
yeah. I do too.
So far,
But
I'm
I think there's a
impressed
lot
with
of
the
people that would be very fierce about Chipper Jones being the guy at
Mhm.
third base. I mean,
Yeah.
you could make a Mike Schmidt comparison on Chipper Jones,
Mhm.
but I agree with you. I mean, I that retirement ceremony, hell, the Rangers had like 60 guys that never played for the Rangers that wanted to be on the field for his retirement ceremony.
Yep.
That speaks a lot. All right, left field. Okay, we're Giants fans, and a lot of people aren't fans of this guy, Barry Bonds.
All right.
And he did a lot of his damage in the 90s. So this is kind of it carried in what he had 8 years in the in this current century.
So I am not a big Barry Bonds fan. As a person, he's not somebody that I would want to associate with. Um, I think you know he cheated the game and then stood up like he was unjustly accused, um, even though the evidence against him is overwhelming. Um, However, in our time, which would be basically the 70s through today, there's never been a player like him. Um, in fact, there's a couple of seasons where he's he's an automatic walk. I mean, I was at a game where they walked him to score a run so
Right.
that they could face the guy behind him, and in a tense situation in a game. Um, he the stadium stops when comes up to the plate. Whether we like it or not, he was a marquee. He was somebody to watch. And
Yep.
for the Dodgers fans that are listening to us, come on, you got to admit, you were rooting for him to strike out, but your eyes were fixated on that
Yeah.
screen.
Everything stopped in the stadium.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
And I'm right up there with you. I was kind of rooting for him to strike out too. But when
But
when he
and
when he hit the ball, it was like a line drive. You think, oh, there's a base hit to center. No, it went over the wall.
and tell me CSI New York was more exciting than Eric Gagne versus Barry Bonds.
Very good, very good.
All
All
right,
right.
center field. I think this one's pretty clear. Mike Trout, especially if you consider the 2011 or 2019 before he started getting hurt every year.
Yeah, I'm impressed with the writers. It's hard to argue anybody other than Trout.
Yeah,
It really is.
there's a Beltran argument, maybe Andrew Jones, maybe, but
I mean, the first guy I thought of was Jones,
okay,
but we are talking about the last 25 years, and that's where Trout's entire career took place.
right,
I really, as a baseball fan, I'm kind of disappointed that he gets injured as often as he does, and I think they're taking steps to make sure that doesn't happen.
right,
But I guess he won't be making the exciting catches that he used to make, and maybe they cut down on his ability to steal bases, and he becomes that older guy that hits for power, and that's it.
yeah,
I'm hoping not, but in his prime, there was nobody like him.
yeah,
And then he just has so much fun on the field. He he makes the veterans the giggly kids again. Oh my
right,
God,
right,
here's this guy. He's just so excited to be here. Maybe we should be too.
yeah,
So
yeah. Oddly enough, my first guy that came to mind when I was reading this list was Torrey Hunter, but
yeah,
he's not Mike Trout.
yeah, no,
All right, so right field, they picked Aaron Judge. That's for our Yankees coast to coast friends here on Mic'd Up.
So I guess Judge he's played quite a bit of center field lately, but yeah, I view him as more of a right fielder.
Yeah,
And I mean, he's your modern day Barry Bonds. Everybody stops when a Judge comes up to the plate.
yeah, and I'm pulling up the list here. Right field probably is the most contentious position because you're talking Ichiro, you're talking Mookie Betts, technically Bryce Harper, Vladimir Guerrero Sr.
Yep,
I mean, there are some significant guys. Giancarlo Stanton, Sammy Sosa.
yep.
If you're going to have Bonds as your left fielder, I mean,
I think they got it right, Rob.
okay,
They got a guy who has elevated the game to we expect 50 home runs from this guy. I'm talking to my mom, the big Yankees fan, the other day, and she's disappointed because Judge struck out 3 times in a game. What's wrong with him? I'm going, Mom, if he bats 350, he's still gonna make an out 6.5 times out of 10. You have to allow this to happen. He will go through periods where he won't hit, and the rest of the team has to pick him up. But when he's on, there's nothing like it. I mean, Bonds was the biggest comparison I can think of. And as a fielder, he's not a bad fielder. He can play center field if need be, and has a lot for the
yeah,
Yankees. But I think he's better served in right.
yeah,
So,
fair enough. All right,
oh,
catcher.
I'm impressed.
Okay,
I'm ranking with the writers so far.
catcher locally, I think there would be some arguments for those of us that are Giants fans. But frankly, it wouldn't come from me because if you could pick either guy, Buster Posey or Yadier Molina, as your catcher, I'm not going to really argue too much. And they picked Molina. I mean, what's not to like about Yadier? He had fun. He was fierce competitor.
Yeah.
Clutch hitter. Buster may be the better pure hitter. Yadier had a longevity thing that Buster didn't have, or Buster kind of walked away from the game early at the peak.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, either one's fine by me. Yachty was a great player. One of the few
Right.
Cardinals that I really have always liked.
I'm gonna be right there with you. The reason I would maybe choose Molina over Posey is Molina played longer. He wasn't a great hitter when he first came up. He kind of made himself into one.
Yeah. And I do like the fact he was a clutch hitter, even when he was hitting 260. But if he came up with the ninth inning with 2 out and a runner at third, the guy scored.
So for you Giants fans that are upset with both of us about not choosing Posey, I guess the best thing I could say is both of them will be in the Hall of Fame. So there's your argument there.
Well, and if they had picked Posey, I'm not going to argue that Yadier was better either. It's just that's probably the one position where you could you can go round and round and round, and you're not going to solve anything.
Yeah.
All right, so DH, and I strongly agree with this one, David Ortiz.
I guess what I would say is that Ohtani has redefined the DH position because technically he doesn't play another position on the field except for pitcher. So he again, all eyes are on him when he comes up to bat. He is producing at an incredibly high level. It's interesting to watch this year. He's hitting home runs, but it's like they're designed to be when there's nobody on base. If there's somebody on base, they pitch around him.
Yeah.
If they're he's got 25 homers and doesn't have 40 RBIs yet.
Right. Yeah, but so my whole thing is Ohtani played 8 years with the Angels. They didn't even sniff the playoffs. With the Dodgers, that team was sniffing the playoffs with him or without him. With David Ortiz, I mean, they broke the curse and then won 2 more. I mean, the guy was a leader. He was a clutch, big-time player. Even when they pitched around him, he impacted the game. Frankly, I think Ortiz has a lot more impact than Ohtani. The Dodgers are going to be chasing the playoffs whether he's there or not. So and those 8 years with Mike Trout in his prime, not being hurt, they didn't do anything.
I hear you. I always hate this argument that, well, they're not in the playoffs because, as you know, I'm a Cubs fan. And so I got to listen for years about how none of the great players that I saw deserved any accolades because they didn't play on winning teams. You can't choose your teammates.
True, but I mean, you can make an argument that the Red Sox weren't as talented as the Dodgers are without Ohtani, whereas I think Ortiz elevated his team. I don't know that Ohtani elevates his team. So, hot topic, controversial. Leave us a call. Leave us a message. Hot take. All right.
We got about 15 minutes, so how do you want to handle the pictures?
We'll move into the starting rotation. I'll just read off the rotation. I disagree with one pretty hard to maybe two. Verlander, Kershaw, Roy Halladay. Those 3, rock solid. I don't think you can argue.
Yeah, I can't.
All right, the next 2, Max Scherzer and Randy Johnson, which the Johnson one bothers me a little bit because the majority of his the major part of his career, I guess, would be in the 90s, right? For his most successful stretch.
What was his one season with the Giants? What year was that?
Oh, gosh. That's
in 2008?
Yeah, 2007, 2008.
Okay.
Right there at the end.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of think Zach Greinke maybe is, for what he accomplished.
I like that.
Might be a better spot than either of those 2 guys. I mean, Scherzer, I know Scherzer's a great regular season pitcher, but he's been on and off in the postseason.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
it depends on how much you value that, I guess.
you can on these starting pitchers, you can kind of go by the contracts they've been given. You know who were throwing the most money.
Yeah.
Um,
What about CC? CC pitched what into the early 2010s, right?
yeah,
And
yeah.
he was always right there.
I'll just say I'm impressed with the writers. They're picking these guys pretty well.
Yeah.
There's
Hey, I
no
faced Roy Halladay. I'm 0 for 20 against that guy.
yeah. Well, that's good. It's good that you are.
All right, then we'll close it up with the closer, Mariano Rivera.
Yeah, it's hard to
Can't
argue
argue
with
that.
that.
Yeah.
There's lots of great closers on teams. Some guys had incredible 2 or 3 year stretches, but Rivera did it for so long and then just dominated in the playoffs to the point where one of the most significant plays in history is the one time that he gave up a run in a World Series game.
Yeah, and he broke the guy's bat. Had the defense been playing at a normal or even halfway depth, that ball was
Exactly.
caught and they win the series. So yeah, that was not on Rivera.
Yeah, it's hard to argue with that. That's
Yeah.
that's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, so they did a pretty good job.
Hey, this has been a really good show where we haven't been interrupted by Terry or Marty the whole time. Everything's been going really smooth.
Maybe we should do this more often.
Well, let's wrap it up. I think next week you'll see us in with a full team of 4. Not sure what our topic will be yet. We don't have another Stockton Ports game until July 2nd. So next week we will be in our homes doing the show per usual. We'll come up with a fun topic. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and let us know if you have any other ideas for a show. Just hit that mic at the bottom of the screen and leave us a 30-second note. Robbie, anything else?
No, I'm just hoping that you make contact with that historian from Columbus, because I think that would be interesting. They did a great job. I mean, if you happen to be in Columbus, it's not like you're going to go out of your way to go to Columbus, Ohio. But if you happen to actually be there, go by the ballpark. And the history of Columbus baseball thing was absolutely fascinating. I found myself lost in that. I loved it. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of that, I think we're going to have a few guests from our tour. We will have Rick Walls from the Reds Hall of Fame on here. We invited him tonight, but he was unable to make it. So we'll schedule another time for him. We have a couple of more guests in mind. And if I connect with this guy from the Clippers, maybe we'll have him on the show.
Yeah. And I want to get Dwayne on from the Clemente Museum, Dwayne Reeder. So Engine House 25 Wines, folks.
All right. Cool. All right. Hey, thanks for joining us. Robbie, play us out.
Highlights from Lowlifes.
Thanks, Almanac, and good beer.
Highlights